Good morning, students. Today, we'll start with molecular basis of inheritance. Molecular basis of inheritance is a huge chapter in second PUC. It would have taken a lot of time for you to understand the concepts in molecular basis of inheritance. Molecular basis of inheritance, the whole theory concept of it will take a lot of time, so please pay attention. Okay, and what do we study about in this chapter is the structure of polynucleotide chain, the DNA, the search for DNA as genetic material, RNA world, replication, that is DNA duplication, that is protein synthesis, in that we study transcription, genetic code, translation, regulation of gene expression, and human genome project. All this is there in this chapter. So first we'll start with DNA. So nucleic acids, that is DNA and RNA, are the building blocks of genetic material. DNA is the genetic material in most organisms, whereas RNA is the genetic material in some viruses and also in prokaryotes and in prokaryotes. So all of you know what prokaryotes are? Prokaryotes are basically bacteria. So bacteria, that is Monera. So they'll have RNA as genetic material. Then RNA mostly functions as messengers. So remember this, it will mostly function as messenger. Then we go to the next slide. So the structure of polynucleotide chain. So what do they contain? So the polynucleotides are polymers of nucleotides, that is DNA and RNA. A nucleotide will basically have three components: a nitrogenous base, a pentose sugar, and a phosphate. The pentose sugar is a ribose in RNA, and deoxyribose in DNA. So remember this, it is deoxyribose in DNA and ribose in RNA. Then here, so there are two types of nitrogen bases. One is purines and the other one is pyrimidines. Purines are adenine and guanine. Pyrimidines are cytosine, thymine, and uracil. Thymine is present only in DNA and uracil is present only in RNA. So remember this, thymine is present only in DNA and uracil is present only in RNA. So here uracil, remember this, it is absent in DNA but is present in RNA, whereas thymine is absent in RNA whereas present in DNA. Okay. So next we should know a rule called as Chargaff's rule. So Erwin Chargaff made this rule. In DNA, the proportion of adenine is equal to thymine. So A is equal to T. So remember this. What does he say? Adenine is equal to thymine and guanine is equal to cytosine. So adenine is always equal to thymine and guanine is always equal to cytosine. Okay. So remember that this rule can be written in another form also. A by T, which is equal to G by C, which is always equal to 1. Okay. So remember this. Adenine and thymine are always equal. Guanine and cytosine are always equal. So it should always come to 1. This is called as Chargaff's rule. Then structure of polynucleotide chain. So a nitrogenous base is linked by pentose sugar through a N-glycosidic linkage. So a nitrogenous base is linked to the pentose sugar by N-glycosidic linkage. A nitrogenous base plus pentose sugar is equal to nucleoside, is equal to a nucleoside. Please remember them. These are very, very important. So usually asked in CET and NEET. So adenosine, deoxyadenosine, guanosine, deoxyguanosine, cytidine, deoxycytidine, uridine, deoxythymidine. So remember this. Then this is a pentose sugar. The pentose sugar is held with a nitrogen base. So what does this form? This is a nucleoside, and the linkage between a pentose sugar and nitrogen base is a N-glycosidic bond. Then look at this. These are nucleosides. This is adenosine. This is adenosine. Why? A is here. This is thymidine. Why? Because T is here. This is cytidine. Why? C is here. Guanosine. G. So this you have to remember. Very important. Then we saw nucleoside. Now we will see nucleotide. So what does a nucleotide have? Nitrogen base plus sugar plus phosphate group. Remember this. Two nucleotides are linked through 3 prime 5 prime phosphodiester bond, then it is called a dinucleotide. More than that is called a polynucleotide. So remember this. So this is a nucleoside. Now if we add phosphate to it, it will become a nucleotide. So we added a phosphate, now it is a nucleotide. So now what do we call this? The same one, adenosine phosphate, deoxyadenosine, same one, thymidine phosphate, cytidine phosphate, guanosine phosphate, monophosphates basically. Now look at this. So how would DNA look like? So DNA is basically a polynucleotide. So there are many nucleotides which are attached together. So Friedrich Miescher was the first person who identified DNA and named it as nuclein. Okay. James Watson and Francis Crick proposed the double helical model of DNA. So remember this, James Watson and Francis Crick proposed the double helical model of DNA. It is a polymer of deoxyribonucleotides. It's a polymer of deoxyribonucleotides. So remember deoxyribonucleotides. So the length of DNA is based on the number of nucleotides present in it. So remember these numbers, very important. Okay. So salient features of double helical structure of DNA. So what is this? So here it was proposed by Watson and Crick. So what did he say? It is made up of two polynucleotide chains where the backbone is formed of sugar and phosphate. So the backbone is formed of sugar and phosphate, and the bases will project inside. What do you mean by bases? That is the nitrogen bases. They project inside. The two chains are anti-parallel in polarity. What do you mean by anti-parallel? One is moving in the 5 prime to 3 prime direction and the other one in 3 prime to 5 prime direction. So we'll look at the diagram of DNA in the next slide. So the bases of the two strands are paired through hydrogen bonds forming base pairs. So remember this, adenine will bind with adenine will bind with thymine by two hydrogen bonds. This is very important. And guanine will always bind with cytosine with three hydrogen bonds. Guanine will bind with cytosine, or cytosine will bind with guanine by three hydrogen bonds. Look at this. Purine comes opposite to pyrimidines. This gives a uniform distance between the two strands. The two chains are coiled in a right-handed fashion. And the pitch of the helix, that means the turn that will take place, is 3.4 nanometers. Then the number of base pair per turn is 10. And the distance between adjacent base pairs is 0.34 nanometer. So please have a look at this. So this is how our DNA looks. And these are the base pairs. 1 second. So look at the base pairs. So there is a equal spacing. Can you see here? There is equal spacing throughout. So whichever nitrogen base comes here, whether it is adenine, thymine, guanine or cytosine, nothing will happen. It will be the same spacing. Then look at this. Phosphate group, pentose sugar and nitrogen bases. Please have a look. So there are two strands of DNA equally, which are spaced equally. Then, so the length of DNA, the number of base pairs and the distance between two adjacent base pairs will give you the length of DNA. So 0.34 into 10 to the power of 9 meters. Okay. Then length of human DNA, okay, is 6.6 into 10 to the power of 9. Okay, that is the number of base pairs into 0.34 into 10 to the power of minus 9. So it would give you this distance, length of human DNA. Then the E. coli is 0.36 mm. So 0.36 into this, it will give you so many base pairs. It's easy to calculate. Then here, if adenine content in DNA segments is 22%, what is the percentage of guanine? Please answer, students. If adenine is equal to 22%, then how much should thymine be? Okay. How much should cytosine be? And how much should guanine be? So please answer. Please answer, students. So please equate it to 100%. So then answer. Take your time, but I want a correct answer. Please answer. Answer, Madi. See, if it is 22%, then thymine should also be 22%. So that will give you a total of 44%. What is the remaining? It is 56%. It is 56%. Sorry. Yeah. Please answer. ಈಗ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ 56% ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ರೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ. So 56 ಅರ್ಧ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ? You should give 28 here and 28 here. So the correct answer is C, 28%. 28%. So we'll solve such questions later. Okay. So answer this. Which is the odd man out here? Which is the odd man out here? So adenosine, cytosine and guanosine come under deoxycytidine is wrong. So it doesn't belong to them. So all these will belong to one group. So D is the correct answer. Deoxycytidine. So packaging of DNA. How is DNA packed? So DNA is packed in prokaryotes in the form of proteins, and they are dispersed in the cytoplasm. They're not scattered throughout through an incipient nucleus. Whereas in eukaryotes, there are a set of positively charged basic proteins called as histones. The histones are rich in positively charged basic amino acid residues, that is lysine and arginines. So 8 histones form a histone octamer around which the DNA is bound. So this is the histone octamer. So which has 8 proteins. So remember this is a histone octamer. And the DNA is wound around it like this. Can you see here? Can you see this here? It will go around, come like this. So the H1 histone will be here. So there are 200 base pairs required for wounding around the histone octamer. Then the nucleosomes constitute a repeating unit to form chromatin. The chromatin is thread-like stained colored bodies, and the nucleosomes in the chromatin look like beads on the string. Okay, the chromatin is packed to chromatin fibers. They are coiled and condensed at the metaphase stage of the chromosome. That is why in the metaphase stage of chromosomes, you'll be able to see the chromosomes really well. Then, packaging of chromatin at higher level requires additional set of proteins called non-histone chromosomal proteins. Remember that, it's very important. Then, the chromosome will include two types. One is euchromatin and the other one is heterochromatin. Euchromatin is loosely packed, transcriptionally active, and stains light. Whereas heterochromatin is densely packed, inactive region, and the chromatin stains dark. So, so to find out whether it was DNA, which is the genetic material, there were various experiments conducted. One of the major experiments was Griffith's experiment using mice and Streptococcus pneumoniae. The Streptococcus pneumoniae had two major strains. One is R strain and the other one is S strain. The S strain is a virulent strain which has a mucus coat around it. So it's a polysaccharide coat. So understand this, it has a mucus coat, whereas this one does not have a mucus coat. So no mucus coat. So it does not cause pneumonia. So remember this, S strain causes pneumonia, whereas R strain does not cause pneumonia. Then look at the experiment. Here, the living S strain, that is the virulent strain, when it is injected to mice, the mice die. Okay. When the non-virulent strain is injected, the mice are healthy, they don't die. When we inject heat killed smooth strain, the mice doesn't die. Why? It doesn't cause pathogenicity. Whereas when we mix heat killed S strain and R strain together and we inject, the mice dies. So that means there is some principle where the DNA from one, that is heat killed smooth strain, is transferred to the other, that is the rough strain, okay, and the mice die. So what was that principle? So they thought it was transforming principle. So it does not prove DNA as the genetic material. So remember this. The next one, biochemical characterization of transforming principle. So here, Avery, MacLeod, and McCarthy, they work to determine the biochemical nature of transforming principle in Griffith experiment. So remember this, they purified biochemicals, proteins, DNA and RNA, etc. from heat kill cells and wanted to check whether it is actually DNA which is causing the issue. So they used RNAs first. So when they used RNAs first, the transformation was not affected and still there was transformation. Okay. And when they used proteases, still there was transformation. What does it prove? Protein and RNAs are not the ones that are causing. When they used DNA, the DNA was digested and it caused transformation, suggesting that DNA was the one that was causing transformation. So then we go to the next experiment, that is Hershey-Chase experiment, where they grew bacteriophages in radioactive medium. So one was grown in radioactive sulfur. So remember this, radioactive sulfur, where the capsule, is radioactive, So what does it mean? Protein. Protein is, one second. Protein is radioactive. So remember this. Here protein is radioactive. Whereas here DNA is radioactive. Why DNA is radioactive? Because the genetic material is radioactive here. So there the protein code was radioactive. Here the genetic material is radioactive. Okay. Then they infected it onto E. coli cells. After they infected and the genetic material was injected into the cell, they used a technique called as blending, where the coats of viruses were removed from the surface of the cell. Okay. So they were taken off. So then they subjected it to centrifugation. once is subjected to centrifugation, what happened? The on one side, the non-radioactive sulfur, that is the capsids, were in the supernatant, and the cells were in the solution. Okay, that is in the pellet. Then they both see on both the sides. So the one which had radioactive DNA, they could see that the cells were radioactive. So this is very important. Radioactivity is detected in the cells. So by this, they were able to prove that DNA is the genetic material which is transformed from one cell to another. Okay, this one was not required. So we'll stop here. ಮುಂದಿನ slide ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಡಿ. So we'll go to the next part here. We'll study about DNA replication. So in DNA replication, we study the semi-conservative model of DNA replication. So just here you will not be able to understand. Here, what did they do? So Messelson and Stahl, they took cells and they grew these cells in N19 DNA. 1 second, students. N19 DNA, which is a heavy isotope of nitrogen. Okay, and they centrifuged it in cesium chloride. So understand this, cesium chloride. They centrifuged it in cesium chloride. That is density gradient centrifugation. So when they centrifuged it in cesium chloride, they got a band like this. So when they centrifuse it, their pellet looked like this. Then in the next generation, so they grew it on N14. So this was grown on N14. So remember this. This is a lower isotope. So this was on N15. So remember this. This is on N15. The next generation was grown on N14. When they grew it on N14, so half of the DNA here, okay, remember this. Half of the DNA means the one strand of DNA was from N14. So see this. This is from N15. This is from N14. This is from N15. This is from N14. So you get a hybrid DNA which has both N14 and N15. So remember this. Here it is only N15. So the next generation has both N14 and N15. So this was taken in a time period of 20 minutes. After the next 20 minutes, they left it in N14 again. So it was there in N14 itself. So in the next generation, what happened? They had hybrid DNA also. So can you see this? These two DNA, these two are found here. So remember this. Okay, done. Whereas these two are found here. So remember this. Very important. Okay. So this proved semi-conservative model of DNA replication. So let us go with 1 second. Oh. So what happens? DNA replication takes place during the S phase of cell cycle. So where does it originate? It originates at a region called as RS site. So you'll study about RS site even in biotechnology, RS site. And this is the end region, that is a terminal site. So it would start at the RS site. An enzyme called as DNA helicase would open up the DNA strands, and DNA replication is bidirectional. It will occur in both the regions. Basically All the strands that are formed are in 5 prime to 3 prime direction. One is the leading strand and the other one is the lagging strand. So can you please see here? So one is the leading strand and the other one is the lagging strand. And those strands are called as Okazaki fragments. Okazaki fragments. So, and after once the strands are formed, proofreading takes place and they are sealed with the help of DNA ligase and two strands are formed. So what is the machinery required? So please see here. So what do you require? Deoxyribonucleotides and also DNA polymerases. So please look at this animation. So helicase, what do? They open up the DNA strand. They open up the DNA strand. Then the polymerase enzyme will grow it on either sides. See here, they add nucleotides. Ligase enzymes will join all the pieces. If there are any cuts, will join them. Then there are two strands that are formed. So central dogma of molecular biology. So DNA is formed from DNA by a method called replication. DNA to RNA is by transcription. mRNA to protein is by translation. Whereas there is a new update to central dogma, which is called as reverse transcription. Reverse transcription. So it was discovered by a scientist called Temin and Baltimore. Okay, it's also called as Teminism and Temin and Baltimore discovered it. Okay. So we'll go to protein synthesis. In protein synthesis, we'll start with transcription. So what is transcription? It is a process of copying genetic information from one strand of DNA into RNA. Copying genetic information from one strand of DNA into RNA. Here, adenine forms base pair with uracil instead of thymine. So remember this, adenine will form a base pair with uracil instead of thymine. And both strands are not copied during transcription. Remember this, because the proteins could be different in both the strands. This would complicate the genetic information transformationally. So only one strand is formed. Okay. So if two RNA molecules are formed simultaneously, this would be complementary to each other. So remember this, they would be complementary to each other and hence form a double-stranded RNA, and this would prevent the translation process. This would prevent the translation process. Then transcription unit consists of three regions: a promoter, a structural gene, and a terminator. Promoter is a binding site for RNA polymerase. Structural gene is the region where the actual transcription takes place and the RNA is formed, and it will ultimately lead to formation of proteins. Then terminator, the end of the process of transcription is a terminator. We'll go one by one. So 3 prime to 5 prime acts as a template strand and 5 prime to 3 prime acts as a coding strand. So remember this. So template strand is the one which gives rise to mRNA. So please look at this. So what is gene? Gene is a functional unit of inheritance. The DNA sequence coding for tRNA or rRNA molecule is considered a gene. A segment of DNA coding for a polypeptide is called a cistron. So genes can be monocistronic or polycistronic. If they are monocistronic, they are usually in eukaryotes where they code only for one protein at a time. If they're polycistronic, they code for many proteins at a time and are usually found in prokaryotes. So remember this, and they're usually found in prokaryotes. In eukaryotes, monocistronic structural genes have interrupted coding sequences. Okay, the genes in eukaryotes and the eukaryote genes are split. So they have two things. One is the exon and the other one is the intron. The exons are coding sequences, whereas the introns are the non-coding sequences, whereas the introns are the non-coding sequences. So remember this. Then if you look at transcription, it is different for bacteria and for humans. in humans, in bacteria and in eukaryotes. I'm extremely sorry, in bacteria and in eukaryotes. In bacteria, it is a simpler process, that is initiation, elongation, and termination. There is not much of complication. Whereas the polymerase that attaches here has to always get attached to a factor called a sigma factor or an initiation complex, which would initiate the attachment. Then later, this RNA polymerase, which moves along the length of the DNA, will produce mRNA, which produce mRNA. As it is producing mRNA, it reaches the terminator region where it attaches to the Rho factor, and the RNA polymerase is dislodged from DNA. The RNA polymerase is discharged from DNA. So remember this. Please have a look at this. So a DNA molecule is opened up by helicase, and later RNA polymerase will attach to the strand and keep producing mRNA. So can you look at that? A will not produce T, will not have attachment with T. It is U. Instead of thymine, there will be uracil. So remember here, initiation, elongation, and termination. So in eukaryotes, there are two additional complexities. So please see, there are three RNA polymerases: RNA polymerase 1, RNA polymerase 2, and RNA polymerase 3. RNA polymerase 1 transcribe for 28S RNA, 18S, and 15S rRNAs. So remember this. So 28S, 18S, and 5.8S rRNA. So remember that. Then RNA polymerase 2, it transcribes a precursor for mRNA, that is heterogeneous nuclear RNA, which will later become mRNA. Okay. Then RNA polymerase 3 transcribes tRNA, that is 5S rRNA and snRNA, small nuclear RNAs. So remember this, very important. Whereas in eukaryotes, the other one is splicing, capping, and poly A tailing. So what is splicing? The removal of introns and the exons are added. That is called as splicing. Then you have capping. An unusual nucleotide, that is methyl guanosine triphosphate, is added to the 5' end of heteronuclear RNA. Then poly A tailing, that is at the 3' end, 200 to 300 adenine residues are added. So genetic code. So what is genetic code? It is a sequence of nucleotide, that is the nitrogen bases in mRNA, which contains the information for protein synthesis. So basically genetic code is on mRNA. So remember the salient features. Triplet code. It's a 3-letter code. Remember that? It's a 3-letter code. Genetic code is universal. What do you mean by universal? Same for all organisms. Same for all organisms. So no punctuations are present between the genetic codes. That is, it is a commaless. It is not overlapping. One genetic code will not overlap with another genetic code. They are absolutely separate. An amino acid is represented by many codons. Such codons are called as degenerate codons. So there is degeneracy. One amino acid can be coded by more than one genetic code. Then the genetic code is non-ambiguous. That is, one codon specify only one amino acid. Are you understanding? See, one amino acid can be coded by many codons. Okay, but one codon will code only one type of amino acid. So remember this. Okay. Then AUG is an initiator codon. Initiator codon, which also codes for methionine in eukaryotes. Whereas it is formyl methionine in prokaryotes. Okay. Then we have the terminator codons. Terminator codons are also called as nonsense codons because they do not code for any amino acid. That is UAA, UAG, and UGA. So remember this. So which are the 20 amino acids? You need not have to remember all of them, but at least you should know a few. One of the most important one is AUG, that is methionine. Okay. So all amino acids and their codes need not have to be remembered. If you can remember them. Then the genetic code dictionary. We'll go to this, look at this. So if you can remember, we can read all of them. Then Translation. So what is translation? Translation is the decoding of mRNA to amino acid sequences. So example, look at this here. mRNA, it provides a template for protein synthesis. tRNA, transfer RNA or sRNA or soluble RNA, brings amino acids for the protein synthesis and reads the genetic code. Then ribosomal RNA plays structural and catalytic role during translation. So we'll go to the next one. That is the cloverleaf model of tRNA. So remember here, this is the tRNA structure. So translation, let us look at the steps. Charging of tRNA, initiation, elongation and termination. Amino acyl tRNA synthesis. Remember this, very important. So amino acyl tRNA synthesis will catalyze the attachment of amino acid to tRNA. Amino acid to tRNA, which is also called as charging of tRNA. The next step is initiation. In the second step, what happens? It is the beginning where at the 5' end of rRNA, at the 5' end of mRNA, sorry, there is a initiation factor. Okay, the mRNA is transcribed from DNA to ribosomes for protein synthesis, and the mRNA will bind to the small subunit. This is the small subunit. Small subunit. This is the large subunit. So this is usually 40S and 60S in eukaryotes, 30S and 50S in prokaryotes. So remember this. Okay. RNA binds to small subunit of the ribosome. Now the large subunit will bind to the small subunit, and this is called as an initiation complex. Here you will have two sites. One is called as A site and the other one is called as P site. Okay. A site means amino acyl site. A site means amino acyl site. P site is peptidyl site. Okay. So initiation codon for methionine is AUG. So the methionine rtRNA complex would have UAC as the anticodon. So remember this. If there is AUG, so remember this. If there is AUG, what is the complementary to it? UAC. Because here you can't have T because it is RNA. U with A, G with C. So remember this. So every time a new tRNA brings up an amino acid, it will come to the A site and it will transfer it to the P site, and this will keep on moving with the help of an enzyme called as peptidyl transferase. Okay. So in prokaryotes, what happens? Many ribosomes are attached to mRNA and is called as polyribosomes or polysomes. So termination is the end of it, where the amino acyl tRNA reaches the terminator codon like UAA, UAG and UGA, where they do not have any amino acids for it, and it will dissociate into large and small subunit at the end of protein synthesis. So remember this, students. So please look at the animation. So there is A site, there is P site. The first one is methionine. So you can see it can't code for any other thing. It will code only for what is complementary to it. So that is peptidyl transferase. Now tRNA is gone. Now it will move again. So no, another tRNA will come. Peptidyl transferase will come. Transfer it. Then it will go to the next one. So at the end, it is a nonsense codon, and they do not code for anything. So remember this, students. So we'll go to the next PPT. Just give me a second. So we'll start with regulation of gene expression. So how are genes regulated? So genes can't just keep working all the time. So they have to be regulated by some mechanism where sometimes they shouldn't work at all. So the metabolic, physiological and environmental conditions regulate the expression of genes. Remember this, the metabolic, one second. Oh, one second. So, what is it? The metabolic, physiological, and environmental condition regulate the expression of gene. Metabolic, physiological, and environmental conditions regulate the expression of genes. In E. coli, the enzyme beta galactosidase hydrolyzes lactose into galactose and glucose. Remember this? So, what is happening? It is basically in E. coli. Okay, the enzyme beta galactosidase will break down lactose into galactose and glucose. If there is no lactose, the synthesis of beta galactosidase is not required. So lactose ಇದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ beta galactosidase ಬೇಕು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಬೇಡ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಅದು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ನಾವು. ಹೇಗೆ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. So the development and differentiation of embryo in adult as a result of expression of several set of genes. So we'll go one by one. First one, each metabolic reaction is controlled by a set of genes. Okay, so all genes regulating a metabolic reaction constitute an operon. So what is an operon? We'll see here. Okay, operon is basically a set of genes, okay, which will regulate a metabolic reaction. So different types of operon: lac operon, trip operon, val operon, histone operon, all that. Okay, so here we'll study only about lac operon, that is about lactose metabolism. So please pay attention, this is important. So there are different types of genes here. One is called as controlling genes, the other one is called as structural genes. Okay, the first one are controlling genes. Okay, so they'll have inhibitor, promoter, operator, these regions, whereas structural genes will have three regions. One is Z, Y, and A. Z produces beta galactosidase, Y produces permease, and A produces transacetylase. Then, look at this. If lactose is not present, so remember this, if lactose is not present, we do not require beta galactosidase. ನಮಗೆ beta galactosidase ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಿ. So a regulatory gene will produce a repressor mRNA that will produce a repressor. The repressor will go and operate to the operator. It will attach to the operator. When it attaches to the operator, there is no polymerase which can attach, and there will be no translation. There will be no translation. Understand this. This is in the case of absence of lactose. Lactose illa ಈಗ. Okay, lactose ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡೋಣ. So lactose is the inducer. If lactose comes in, what will happen? The inducer will produce a repressor mRNA, which will produce a repressor protein. To the repressor protein, the inducer will attach, that is, the lactose will attach, and it will not let them attach to the operator. So what will happen? Now the operator gene, from there, the transcription will start, that is at ZYA. So now what happens? They'll produce a polycystonic mRNA, which will later produce beta galactosidase, permease, and transacetylase, which will help in breakdown of lactose. So this is how on and off of lactose operon works. So Human Genome Project. So genome is the entire DNA in a haploid set of chromosomes of an organism. The human genome, that is the DNA, is packed in 23 different chromosomes. The Human Genome Project was initiated in 1990 and it ended in 2003. So it is to map and identify the sequences of nucleotides of all genes in the human genome. The human genome will contain 3 into 10 to the power of 9 base pairs. So remember, so we calculated the length. So what is the main goal of Human Genome Project? To identify all the estimated genes in human DNA, determine the sequences of 3 billion chemical base pairs that make up the human DNA, store this information in databases, improve tools for data analysis, transfer related technologies to other sectors such as industries, address the ethical, legal, and social issues that may arise from the project. For this, Human Genome Project was closely associated with bioinformatics. So, what is bioinformatics? Application of computer technology and information science to organize, interpret, and predict biological structure and functions. So, remember this also applies in analyzing DNA sequence data. So there are two methodologies. One is express sequence tag. So remember this express sequence tag. It is identifying all genes that are expressed as RNA. But this can't be completely helpful. Why? It is only applying to genes which will express RNA. There are so many other DNA which do not express. Okay, junk DNA and ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. So what about junk DNA? Okay, or housekeeping genes. So junk DNA is not taken into consideration in express sequence tag. Whereas in sequence annotation, sequencing the whole genome which contains all the coding and non-coding sequences and later assigning different regions in the sequence with functions. So this is a slightly better technique. Okay, then we go to the next one. What is the procedure? We isolate DNA from the cell, convert it to random fragments. How do we convert it to random fragments? We treat it with restriction endonuclease. Then we clone it into a suitable host like BAC or YAC. What do you mean by BAC? Bacterial artificial chromosome or yeast artificial chromosome for amplification. Then the fragments are sequenced using automated DNA sequences, that is using Frederick Sanger method. Then the sequences are arranged based on overlapping regions present in them. Then then the alignment of sequences using computer based programs. This is humanly impossible to do, so we used computer based programs to align them. Then genetic and physical maps of the genome were generated using polymorphism, that is repetitive DNA segments. Okay, so salient features you should know. Then here what is most important is chromosome 1, which has the maximum number of genes, that is 2968 genes, whereas Y chromosome has only 231 genes. So remember that less than 2% of the genome codes for proteins. The rest is all junk DNA, it is just there. Okay. Then there are repetitive sequences all along the stretch of DNA, okay, that are repeated multiple times. Okay. So there is no direct coding functions. Okay, understand this. There are about 1.4 million locations where single DNA differences are present, that is single nucleotide polymorphisms or SNPs, which occur in humans. So DNA fingerprinting procedure or DNA profiling, this is a very important technique. So it was discovered by a scientist called Alec Jeffrey. So he developed it based on mini satellites or variable number of tandem repeats. So he developed a technique called Southern blotting technique. So how do we do it? We started with isolation of DNA, then with amplification, making many copies of DNA using PCR, that is polymerase chain reaction, then digesting the DNA with restriction enzymes, then subjecting it to electrophoresis, that is gel electrophoresis, then you treat it with an alkali. So that will denature DNA bonds in the gel into single strands. Then transferring or blotting the separated single strands, okay, into synthetic membranes, that is nitrocellulose or nylon, and then baked in a vacuum oven for around 80 degrees for 3 to 5 hours to fix DNA fragments onto the membrane. Then it is subjected to autoradiography. Okay, so we subject it to autoradiography and take out the DNA fingerprint. So based on that, we can detect the similarities in DNA. So what is it useful for? It is used as a forensic tool to solve problems of paternity, rape, murder, etc. for diagnosis of genetic diseases to determine phylogenetic status of animals. Okay. Thank you, students. We'll end this thing. We'll start with MCQs. First. So now we'll start with MCQ, students. So all of you, please answer. Please answer, students. Nucleic acids were first discovered by. Nucleic acids were first discovered by. They were first discovered by Friedrich Miescher. They were first discovered by a scientist, Friedrich Miescher. He named him nuclein. Nitrogenous bases with pentose sugar constitute. Nitrogenous bases with pentose sugar constitute. Please answer, students. Yes. So, nucleotide will have nitrogen base plus pentose sugar plus phosphate. Okay. So, one is not the right answer. Nucleoside will have a nitrogen base plus pentose sugar. So, this is the correct answer. Nucleic acid is wrong, DNA and RNA is wrong. So, B is the correct answer. So we'll go to the next one. Which of the following nitrogenous base is absent in DNA molecule? Which is absent in DNA molecule? Please answer. So thymine is present in DNA. Adenine is present. Cytosine is present. It is uracil. So it is present only in RNA. So remember that it is present only in RNA. So B is the correct answer here. The axis of DNA molecule is represented by. The axis of DNA molecule is represented by. So I'll tell you what is the axis. See, look at this. Here, imagine you have a DNA like this. Okay. So you'll have nitrogen bases like this. So the axis. So what is there exactly in the center? This is the axis. So think and answer. See, it is the hydrogen bond between DNA base pair is the correct answer. The hydrogen bond between DNA base pair is the correct answer. Next, a nucleotide consists of. So what does a nucleotide consist of? I've done this already. A nitrogenous base, phosphate and pentose sugar. This is nucleoside. So easy, B is the correct answer. Next, please answer this. Sixth one. Take your time and answer. Answer, students. See, all of us know that Watson and Crick proposed the double helical structure. So think and answer. See, Watson and Crick proposed only double helical model and not the semi-conservative one. This is wrong. So A is not the correct answer. Watson and Crick proposed a semi-conservative mode of DNA replication of DNA, not the double helical. This is wrong. Watson and Crick proposed both double helix model and semi-conservative model of DNA replication. This is correct. Was it double helix mode? So here they have given conservative. So remember this. This is correct. This is semi-conservative. So C is the correct answer. Then Chargaff rule is applicable to. This was a question asked in 2002, Chargaff rule is applicable to? What is Chargaff rule applicable to? It is applicable only to double-stranded DNA. So it can't be applicable to single-stranded RNA. So it doesn't talk about uracil and all that. So it can't work. It can't work here. It can't work here. It is double-stranded DNA. Next, the ratio of purine and pyrimidine bases in DNA molecule is always around 1. This is known as, just now we have done, what is the answer? It is, yes, it is Chargaff's rule. So, teminism is about reverse transcription. So, next, okay, answer this. Take your time and answer it. So we'll go one by one. Distance between two bases is 3.4 Armstrong. Okay. So here what has happened? I shouldn't do this. We'll do this. B and this is C. So this is B and this is C. So distance between two base pairs in a DNA double helix is 3.4 Armstrong. Maximum diameter of DNA double helix, it is 20 Armstrong. 20 Armstrong. The length of one full turn, that is 34 Armstrong. So for A, it should be Q. Then for B, it should be S. And C, it should be P. So the correct answer is C. The correct answer is C. In which stage DNA duplication occurs? In which stage DNA duplication occurs? It occurs in the S phase, that is the synthetic phase or the synthesis phase. They use two words here, synthesis or synthetic, confuse matter. Okay, so know it. So we'll go to the next slide. So the unwinding enzyme that help in breaking hydrogen bond present between two DNA strands during replication is the unwinding enzyme that help in breaking hydrogen bond present between two DNA strand during replication is. Please answer. Yes, correct. It is helicase. Helicase. Then nitrogenous base pairing is always complementary. It means. So what do you mean by that? Nitrogenous base pairing is always complementary. It means. Please answer. So purines will always pair with pyrimidines. That is, adenine will always pair with thymine by 2 hydrogen bonds. Guanine will always pair with cytosine by 3 hydrogen bonds. So DNA replication is, answer students, DNA replication is, it is bidirectional. It is bidirectional. So how do we say it is bidirectional? So if there is a strand of DNA, 1 second. So let us imagine there is a strand of DNA like this. This is the 5' end and this is the 3' end and there is an opening like this. So this would be 3' and this would be 5'. Now what is happening? New strand that has formed is always in 5' to 3' direction. This would be the leading strand. Okay. Whereas here what is happening? It is all in pieces. So 5 to 3', it would be like this. Okay. So there is bidirectional DNA replication. It is always in two direction. Then a newly formed strand of DNA grows? Answer this. A newly formed of DNA strand, DNA or RNA, any new strand that is formed in molecular biology is always in one direction. Please tell me which is that. It is. It is always from 5 prime to 3 prime. Remember this. So new strand is always from 5 prime to 3 prime. Then continuous DNA synthesis occurs during replication. Answer this. Where does it occur? Where does it occur? It occurs in the leading strand. Understand this. Continuous DNA replication occurs in the leading strand, whereas discontinuous takes place in lagging strand. So understand this. What are Okazaki fragments? Answer this. Please answer, students. So what are Okazaki fragments? They are short fragments of DNA on the lagging strand. They are short fragments of DNA on the lagging strand. 17th one. In a double-stranded DNA molecule, the percentage of cytosine is 18. What is the percentage of adenine? Calculate. If the percentage of cytosine is 18, what is the percentage of adenine? So adenine is 18, then guanine should also be 18. Okay, we'll do it. So here, if the percentage of cytosine is 18, guanine should also be 18. So total that would give you 36. So if you subtract it from 100, okay, so 18 plus 18 is 36. So 100, how much do you get? You get 64. So adenine should be half of it, that is 32, and thymine should be half of it, that is 32. So 32 is the correct answer. 32 is the correct answer. So remember this, 32 is the correct answer. Then answer this. Slowly answer it. So 18th one, let us do this. So they've given a sequence of DNA. They've asked for the sequence of complementary DNA and RNA. So let us write it for DNA first. So they've given you A, G, C, T, T, C, G, A. This is DNA. So now we'll write it down for, we'll write it down for complementary DNA. 1 second. One second, students. Just give me a second. So first we'll write it down for DNA. So what is the DNA strand they've given us? That is A, G, C, T, T, C, G, A. Okay. Then the sequence of nucleotide on its complementary DNA. So complementary DNA will write down. What is complementary DNA? For A you will get T, G, C, C, G, T, A, T, A, G, C, T. Done. This is how the complementary DNA will look like. Now just match it up with anything here. So this can't be right. They've given U, so that can't be right. So now TCG double A GCT. So it can be either A or B. Okay. So here they've given for both DNA and RNA. So it can't happen. It is wrong. Now we'll write down the complementary sequence for RNA. What would it come under? So with T, U, it would be U, C, G, right? So A would be the correct answer. Then 19th one. While proposing double helix model for DNA, Watson and Crick used the experimental evidence of. Please answer. They used the experimental evidence of both 1 and 2. So that is Erwin Chargaff's rule and Morris Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin. Then, who among the following conclusively proved that DNA is the genetic material in bacteria? So it is Oswald, Avery, McLeod, and McCarthy. Then, the enzyme that catalyzes DNA synthesis from DNA template. From DNA template, you should produce another DNA. So obviously, it is DNA polymerase. Helicase will just open the strand. Topoisomerase will release a tension. Primase will produce primers there in replication. So 22nd, during DNA replication. So you read all this and answer it. I'll come to it. So think and answer. They have just asked for Nick sealing enzyme. So answer it. See, if you read all that, ultimately they've asked which is the Nick sealing enzyme. That means which will attach two strands of DNA here. It is DNA ligase. It is DNA ligase. So even though the question might look really long, but the answer is simple here. Go to the next one. The information for constructing a polypeptide of known amino acid sequence is located within the. You already know the amino acid sequence. So you have to just go just behind amino acid. So what would be the structure? Understand? It is not rRNA. It is the DNA molecule. The DNA molecule will have the entire sequence from which will produce the mRNA and then to DNA. Which of the following is the shortest molecule? Which of the following is the shortest molecule? The shortest one is rRNA. So understand this, ribosomal RNA is the shortest. So which of the following RNA has a clover leaf structure? So I'll write the RNA. How does it look like? ತುಂಬಾ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಬರೆದಿರ್ತೀನಿ, ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. So this is a clover leaf structure. Which one does it have it? It is actually tRNA. It is tRNA. So remember that it is tRNA. Next, which RNA is short-lived? The RNA which is extremely short-lived is mRNA. mRNA is short-lived. mRNA is short-lived. Which of the following RNA molecule acts as a blueprint for protein synthesis? Please answer this. So blueprint for protein synthesis is mRNA. So mRNA will have the blueprint for protein synthesis. For protein synthesis. Then, so look at this. So I'll tell you which part is what. This is the amino acid binding site. This is the amino acid binding site. This is dihydroxyuridine loop. This is T-Cy-C loop. Then this one is anticodon loop. So answer this. So somebody is asking bacteriophage, they contain DNA or RNA. Bacteriophages contain either DNA or RNA. So ಎರಡರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ. So the correct answer is B. Here, this is a good question. Please take your time and answer. ನಿಧಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ತುಂಬ ಟೈಮ್ ಬೇಕು. ಓದಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ದೇ ಗಿವನ್ ಯು ಡಿ ಎನ್ ಎ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್. ನಿಮಗೆ ಡಿ ಎನ್ ಎ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಆರ್ ಎನ್ ಎ ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಆರ್ ಎನ್ ಎ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎಮ್ ಆರ್ ಎನ್ ಎ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದರಿಂದ ಮುಂದೆ ಮಾಡಿ. Find the sequence of binding of the following amino acyl tRNA complexes during translation to a mRNA transcribed by DNA segment having the sequence. So they're given the sequence for DNA. So based on the sequence of DNA, we'll write here. So DNA, look at this. It is TAC. Okay. So always remember, for every 3 bases, will be one code. Okay, as you can see here also. Okay, so TAC. So right, the next one is ATG. So we'll do like that. The next one is ATG. Okay, then GGC, then CCA. Okay, this is how it is, CCA. So we'll do it. So the next one, we'll write down mRNA to it. So what would be the mRNA? For T, what would it bind to? A. So we'll not have T here, it will be U, and this would be G. So first DNA, then write down mRNA. To that we'll write down tRNA later. Okay. So now AUG, what will be for A? U, A, C here. For A, it will bind with U, T will bind with A, G will bind with C. G and G will bind with CC. This would be G. This would be G, G, U. G, G, U. Correct? So now we'll write down the tRNA to this. For AUG, it will be UAC. Okay. Then for UAC, you'll have AUG. For GGC, for CCG, you'll have GGC. CCA. Okay, very simple. So we'll go now. Where is UAC? So this is the first one. So 2. AUG is 1. Okay, then GGC is here, 4. Then CCA is 3. Now please write down tell which is the sequence now. 2143 is the correct answer. 2143 is the correct answer. 2143 is the correct answer. Yes, this will take a lot of time. So if these questions come up, you should be very smart and you should look at the sequence also. So look at this. It is from 3' to 5'. This you should know. Then answer it. Sometimes they'll give you off it. You should be able to answer. So in the order of higher to lower, correct sequence of nucleic acids according to molecular weight. Answer it. According to molecular weight. So DNA would be the highest. So B is gone here. The next would be mRNA. So RNA was there. So C is not possible. The next is rRNA and tRNA. So A is the correct answer. A is the correct answer. 30th. Then 31st. What is the update of central dogma? I have explained this at the time of synopsis. So please answer. So what is the update? So update is that DNA can be synthesized from a template of RNA, that is reverse transcription. So the correct answer is A here. So DNA can be made the template of RNA. RNA can be made the template of for DNA. Sorry, I'm extremely sorry. So this is the correct statement. This is the correct statement. But what is this? Sorry, 1 second. I was explaining. So what is this? This is a correct statement. This is basically DNA can be made template for RNA. That is transcription. Transcription. DNA can be made template for both DNA and that is replication and transcription. Protein can be made template for RNA and DNA. So this one is there. What did they ask? They asked the update for central dogma. So this is not the update, this is not the update, this is not the update. They are already there with central dogma. So RNA can be made the template for DNA. So B is the correct answer. So B is the correct answer, 31. 32. Which of the following is most abundant cellular RNA? So you know mRNA is short-lived, so it will not be there. Nuclear RNA is also not right. It is actually rRNA. It is actually rRNA. A polysome is formed by. So this was a question asked way back in 2002. So what is polysome? So many ribosomes attached to mRNA is called as polysome. It is found only in prokaryotes, in bacteria, that is in bacteria. So remember that. Then, so 34th, please answer. So I think all of you would be able to answer the DNA double helix. So ನಿಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋದನ್ನ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಬಿಡಿ ಈ ತರ ಈಸಿ ಇರೋದು. ಪ್ಯಾಟ್ಸನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕ್ರಿಕ್, ರಿವರ್ಸ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್, ಟೆಮಿನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಬಾಲ್ಟಿಮೋರ್, ಲ್ಯಾಕೋಪರಾನ್, ಜಾಕೋಬ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೊನಾಡ್, ಇಷ್ಟಂತೂ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ವಾಬಲ್ ಹೈಪೋಥೆಸಿಸ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅನ್ಸ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿ ಒಂದ್ಸತಿ. ಯಾವುದು? ಡಿ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್. ಡಿ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್. ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಗೇನು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ? ಬಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ? ಎಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸಿ, ಕ್ಯೂ, ಡಿ, ಪಿ. ಸೊ ಟಕ್ ಅಂತ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಇವನ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ಒನ್, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಇಟ್. The last one, the terminator codons are it is UAG, UAA and UGA. These are the terminator codons. They are also called as nonsense codons because they do not code for any amino acids. So we'll stop here, students. So in the next class